What's going on, everyone? So once again, the Lakers and Paul George get mentioned by this time Paul George's dad. I've talked heavily about how Paul George has spent more time this offseason talking about the Lakers than he has the Philadelphia 76ers, the team he is now currently on. But we'll dive into that. So here's what Paul George's dad said on Paul George leaving the Clippers. I felt like they stabbed us in the back because I thought Paul did a whole lot for the team. I think he gave them 110%, and what he was asking, it wasn't a whole lot. But they saw something different. I was looking to go next door to the Lakers, but they already spent too much money. So, supposedly, according to Paul George's dad, they were looking at going to the Lakers and signing with the Lakers. Now, if that's really the case, and that's really the truth, and he really did want to go to the Lakers, don't you think that they would have been able to figure something out, right? Would the Clippers really have just given Paul George up for nothing? I mean, I know that they did to the Sixers, but that's because the Sixers could have sold him outright, or were able to sign him outright, right? So if Paul George really wanted to go to the Lakers again, he could have pushed to go to Lakers, right? And the Lakers probably would have traded for Paul George, and LeBron James could have taken less money. I mean, there was ways to figure it out at the time when Paul George was still trying to figure out what he was going to do and where he was going to go, which is why I don't buy it. It's really weird to me, though. I mean, Paul George has had the opportunity to join the Lakers several times. Literally. I mean, he had the opportunity before he went to OKC. Then he had the opportunity to leave OKC and instead decided to stick around. Then he had the opportunity before he went to the Clippers. It's just like, it's crazy. It's crazy how much that Paul George has had the opportunity to be a Laker. And yet he's never actually made the attempt. You know, it's like the guy that's just like, you know, he's always wanted the girl, but he never went up and talked to her. He never actually took the chance. Right? Like, I would have loved Paul George numerous times. Like, even now, if the Lakers would have landed Paul George this offseason, I would have been all for it. Right? I've defended Paul George a lot. Right? Like, I think Paul George is one of the more underrated players. And I mean that genuinely. Right? Underrated gets thrown around a lot. A lot. I don't think that that's the case with Paul George. I mean, the dude can do everything on the basketball court. He's like 6'9", 6'8", can put the ball on the deck, can make plays, can defend at a high level, defend the best player on the other team while still going and getting you 25 to 30, right? Does he have his moments? You know, does he have his disappearing acts at times? Yes, but he is a very good basketball player, especially as your third option alongside LeBron and AD. Whew, right? Like, but again, you had your chance. You could have been a Laker, but you got in your feelings. Right? It made no sense for the Lakers to trade for you. None. Because, again, they knew they could just sign you outright. They saved the cap space. The whole plan was to they got LeBron. The whole plan was to get Paul George and then go trade for Anthony Davis. Like, why would we sell the farm to go get you when we can just sign you and then use the same assets to trade for you to go get that other piece to now go win a championship? Paul George on the Lakers probably win 2 championships, right? Because look at it like this, okay? So Lakers win in 2020. They still probably win in 2020. They might even win before that because Paul George would have been on the team before Anthony Davis came, right? So the Lakers, do they win, right? Does LeBron get hurt, all that stuff? But let's say, you know, because you can't predict whether LeBron would have gotten hurt that year or not. Okay, so let's say 2020, you win in 2020. In 2021, Paul George was healthy, right? Paul George, that was the year that Paul George and Kawhi was really the only year, right? Like, so when Anthony Davis went down in 2021, you still would have had Paul George and LeBron James up 2-1 in that series. So now look, Anthony Davis was a problem for the Phoenix Suns, but that doesn't mean that Paul George and LeBron couldn't have at least gotten them by 1-2 games together, right? And they still would have had Schroeder and all these other guys. Doesn't mean that they couldn't have won 2 games together and ended up being in the NBA Finals, right? And Anthony Davis would have been back by that time, and you'd probably go back to back. Paul George probably has 2 championships. And yes, I know that like the Lakers wouldn't have had all the players, like they probably wouldn't have had Kuz and some of these other guys, but they would have had Paul George in place of those guys. Like they still probably would have had KCP, right? They may have still had Kuz. Like, because again, like they traded everybody else to go get Anthony Davis. So you still would have had Anthony Davis. I mean, all the other guys you had, like Rondo and Dudley and all those guys, those were all like vet minimum guys, right? Like, so again, you still would have had essentially the same team just with Paul George. You know, maybe you wouldn't have had guys like Avery Bradley and Danny Green, but fine, you would have had Paul George. You're still winning, right? Like, you're not losing that. So I still think that Paul George made a mistake, and I think he regrets it. Why else do you keep talking about the Lakers over and over and over and over and over again? I mean, another one is DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan just had a chance again to go on the Lakers. And yet, you got like DeMar DeRozan and Paul George talk about the Lakers and playing for the Lakers more than anyone else, and have had more opportunities than anyone else to play for the Lakers, and have turned it down every time. It's just weird behavior to me, right? Like, again, you're on Philly. Focus on Philly. You're a Philadelphia 76er. Focus on the Sixers. Right? Like, why do you keep talking about, I get it, he's got a podcast, and, you know, he's going to get more clicks by talking about the Lakers, and he's going to get, you know, content creators like myself and others to talk about it and stuff, right? So, I get it. I get it in the sense of, like, you know, it draws traffic, but it's just like, dude, makes you look silly, in my opinion, right? Like, again, he spent more time this offseason talking about the Lakers than he has talking about the Sixers, and he's on the Sixers. Like, I want to hear how the Sixers are going to look. Like, what are your thoughts? You know, how do you see you and Maxey and Embiid playing together, right? Like, what are your concerns? What are your, like, can you stay healthy? What have you been working to change? Like, are you if you have to be the third option, are you comfortable being the third option, right? Like, there's a million things that you could talk about with the Sixers. But it's like, oh, let's talk about the Lakers again. We could have went to the Lakers. Like, okay, but you didn't. Right? Like, again, you didn't. You could have went to the Lakers several times, but you didn't. So why does it matter? Right? Again, focus on the Sixers. You're on the Sixers. You have a very good team, and talk about having a very good team. You're in the Eastern Conference. Like, it's literally them, the Knicks, and the Celtics. Right? Like, those are literally the only 3 teams in the Eastern Conference that realistically probably coming out of the East. You know, could you have that surprise or something? Of course. You know, you never want to rule anybody out. But 3 best teams most likely are going to be the Celtics, the Knicks, and the Sixers. Right? And if Paul George and Joel Embiid can stay healthy, the Sixers are going to be tough. Talk about that. Be excited for that. Right? It's just like, again, you picked the wrong side. You know, he's talking, what was it, like a month ago now? He's over there crying, like, you know, like, you know, just playing for the Clippers, it felt like we were just a little bro, like we were the B squad or whatever he said. It's like, well, yeah, Goofy, like, that's what you were. Like, you're not on, like, you know that. You knew that going to the Clippers, right? Like, LA is a Laker town. LA is the Lakers, right? Like, again, what do you mean? Like, oh, like it felt like we were the B squad. Like, yes, because you were. Yeah, that's how it works. You know, you were the B squad. Hate to break it to you. Right? Like, it's just, I don't know, it's just weird. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Just wanted to kind of talk about it. I just thought it was interesting. And, you know, again, look, if Paul George would have came, like if he really would have, again, if he really wanted to be a Laker this offseason, he'd probably be a Laker right now. You know, and I get people might say, oh, the Clippers, there's no way that they trade him to the Lakers. They're really willing to lose him for nothing, right? You're talking about before they were able to flush out the roster, do all the things they were able to do, right? If they, like, Lakers probably would have traded whatever they wanted. You don't think that the Clippers wouldn't have taken, like, Austin Reeves and some of these guys to go get Paul George, rather than just losing Paul George for nothing? Of course they would have, right? It's just Paul George wanted to stick it to the Clippers. So he went to this, because the Sixers don't have to trade for Paul George. What do the Sixers need to trade for Paul George? They have the roster spot. They were able to just sign him, which they did. They signed him, right? So, if he wanted to be a Laker, he could have really pushed to go to Lakers. He could have. There was no rumor. There was nothing coming out about like Paul George wanting to be a Laker. Why are you talking about this now? Why are you talking about this like 2 months, whatever it's been since you signed with the Sixers? Again, it's odd to me. But anyway, as always, let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree with my points? Disagree with my points? Do you feel somewhere in between? How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are. Love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.